everyone, I'm so excited to introduce my next guest, actress, producer, loved her in Charles in Charge, Who's the Boss, Baywatch, and so much more, including the new documentary, After Baywatch, Moment in the Sun. Please welcome to the show, Nicole Eggert. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
So fun. I was actually had watched the After Baywatch documentary, and then I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna email Nicole.
Well, I'm glad you watched it. Did you like it?
I
What
did
did you
enjoy
think of
it.
it? Was it different than what you expected, or?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting, kind of going back and looking at it, because there were times like everyone had different looks. Like I think there's at least 3 Nicole Eggert time frames in there, and so that was interesting how they. So I was never 100% sure. I mean, sometimes it was clear if you were talking about something that just happened, which was the archival footage and stuff like that. But it weaved together really, really nice. Kept waiting for something from Yasmin Bleeth, but nothing. It didn't.
Nothing. We tried really, really hard. She's just not interested in being in front of the camera. She's just really resistant to it, which is too bad because I know people love her so much and want to see her. And yeah, so we were hoping at some point, and then no, didn't happen.
I think Chandler Bing was a big fan of Yasmin.
Yes, right. Yes, they talked about Baywatch all the time. Joey was my fan, and Chandler was Yasmin's. It was funny.
The funniest to me Friends reference to Baywatch was when they stopped living together, and then the new guy moves in with Chandler, and he's trying to explain to the new guy why Baywatch is awesome because he doesn't get it at all.
It's like, oh, I haven't seen that. I need to check that out. That's really funny. I love
So was there nothing new from Pam Anderson in there also?
So when we sold to ABC, they had this interview that they had done with her about Baywatch, and they had never used it. So had been sitting unseen for just a little. It wasn't really that old. And so they said, we're going to use that. Let's put that in. And it worked. I mean, we tried to get Pam so many times, but we started way pre-pandemic. I mean, we started in, I think, 2019, and said she wanted to do her own documentary, and she did. She shot hers, and we all saw it, and, power to her, and she wanted to just do her own thing. So, that's fine.
Everyone has their own thing.
Everyone has their own thing. I don't think you really missed her that much in it, because I think we definitely, I don't know. I think, and like you said, how we all had different interviews. Like I wanted to redo mine a couple times. I think that because of it was so many different looks and all this, that it kind of just wove together easy. You didn't know what was.
If you right? Yeah, if you had bet me, was that a Pam Anderson? Was she part of that? I would have said absolutely.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. So it all worked out.
Yeah, only in like looking at articles after the fact, and then it said, oh, she didn't participate, and I was like, what? It was like, yeah. So it was impressive how many people. You were a producer of this, so was this partly like? Sorry to jump backwards for a second. I just want to, like, was this partly your idea as well? Like, pull this all together?
Yeah, it was Matt and I talking one day on the phone, and I had been trying to put together a show with some of the women, and it kept turning into a reality show, and it just wasn't feeling right. We met with a lot of networks, and it was all reality stuff. And Matt said one day, why isn't it a documentary? Because we were talking about documentaries. We're both big buffs. I said, oh, well, what does that look like? Let's talk about that. And we just started brainstorming and moving forward. And I said, listen, if David Hasselhoff says he's going to do it, let's go. Like, all shots are fired. Let's go. And I called him, and he said, yeah, he said he would do it. So we rolled from there.
Well, if the Hoff is in, then what?
Yeah.
You can't go back. Yeah. It was very enjoyable. I found it by accident. I think it was just Hulu was promoting it, when they were doing it. And I usually it's the opposite. I was like, oh, I'm talking to Nicole Eggert, I'm going to watch stuff, this one.
This happened the opposite. That's good. I like that.
Which is nice, right? And so, yeah, it was interesting because like my daughter walks in and she goes, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, guys, this was, you got to like put it in the framework of all she sees is dad watching a bunch of people, in the
In
sexy
bathing
red
suits.
bathing suits. Yeah. And so I'm like, you don't understand. This was the #1 show in the world, like in the world, in terms of pop culture moments. Baywatch sits at the top, at the top of those moments, and it's become even, I think, more iconic as time has gone by. But like, so in that framework, I loved it, and it was interesting to me. I know the women had similar comments, but to hear the guys talk about the body issues and like trying to stay and being in those swimsuits themselves, because you don't usually hear it from the guy's point of view. It's like, I don't think it's always,
Yeah.
it's usually the women, because they're the ones being objectified and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but it was interesting to hear from the guy's point of view too.
It's almost like, I don't know if you agree or not, it's almost like the guys cared more than the women, or they were more competitive about it. And yeah, they were yeah, the guys are funny. But I guess because very rarely do they have to like strip down and be in a Speedo. That's usually the woman's job, right? So like rarely does this happen for them. So I think yeah, it's good fun to watch them struggle with it too.
Well, I think David Hasselhoff said it best in one of his interviews, where he says, "I'll shoot the scene and then I go, oh."
Stop breathing. Yeah,
He
I know.
lets out because he's been holding his whole stomach in and stuff like that. Yeah, but I can imagine it. I mean, you're a guy around all these beautiful women, all these beautiful people. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess it goes both ways. Anyway, so congratulations. Was there any stories that didn't make it into the documentary?
There was a lot of stuff that didn't make it. I mean, we have so much footage. It's unbelievable. We could probably do a whole nother documentary. But I think that I think all the important things got in. Everything that truly like matters and is colorful and is new. A good story that didn't get in that I was kind of hoping did is Gina Lee Nolan talking about her sex tape. And I was like, a lot of people had sex tapes back then. And she was affected too. It just wasn't as I don't think it was as publicized, so we don't know about it as much. So I kind of liked that factor, but she was, equally violated. Do we call it? I don't know. I don't know what we call that when somebody gets a hold of your sex tape, but
I think violated is a good word.
It's a good word, right?
I think it's a good word. It was interesting the impact Pamela and Tommy Lee's had on the show, and both kind of making it so hard for her, and then also escalating that.
Yeah, I'm glad I was gone by then, because that would have been hard to watch. That would have been sad to watch, I think.
That's the violation there. It's just horrible. I watched a documentary. Maybe I watched the one where Pam didn't like, where they had the reenactments of it or whatever, also on Hulu. But I mean, it's such a violation. It's so horrible, so horrible. So you're good friends with Jeremy Jackson still throughout, because his story, your story, it was nice that you didn't. Some of the focus wasn't on the folks you would have expected to be. You know what I mean? So it was interesting to. I didn't know much about Jeremy Jackson's journey.
A lot of people say that, but he did get a lot of press and has got a lot of backlash from his story. So it was really great to see him be willing to be open and honest about it all, and for people to receive it. Because I think there was this stigma. It's like either you heard about his story or you didn't. And if you had heard about it, you just thought he like did drugs and did something bad and was in jail, and not really, understanding the whole spectrum of everything that the guy's been through.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't on my radar. I mean, in my defense, early 20s, there were other cast members on my radar.
100%. Yeah.
But it was interesting to see the impact of him as such a young child, and then growing up on that show. Yeah, I could see where. But it was interesting to hear about all of the issues that people had and all that. It was a very interesting perspective, the whole documentary.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times people they say, "Oh, Baywatch, beautiful," and something bad happened to them, like boo-hoo. You hear a lot of that, and it's just like, well, wait a minute, slow down. And I think now, today, luckily, I think people are in a receiving mode. They're listening, they're understanding, we're much more compassionate. And it just was good timing to let everybody just, tell their journey, because it hasn't been so easy for everybody. It can be tough, even when you're, so pretty, quote unquote. It's just, yeah.
I
So
know,
I'm glad
Nicole. I grew up. It's been a rough life when you're this adorable.
it was rough.
It's rough. It's rough. People just expect everything's perfect. You were also very open about a lot of things, but the Charles in Charge, Scott Baio, but also the cancer diagnosis. And I say, you're looking good. You're looking good. How are you
Thanks.
feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I just had my surgery like 6 days ago. So I was literally just now at the doctor getting my drains taken out. Too much information probably, but so it's really fresh. It's quite the recovery. I didn't really realize that it was gonna be this hard to recover from, but here I am. And I've stopped the painkillers, which is nice. So now I can drive. Yeah. And then I'm just waiting to heal a little bit. And then I'm going to go back and do some more treatment. And then I will do surgery on the other side. And then hopefully be done with this at some point by next year. Is my goal.
Keep fighting.
Yeah.
We're all in your corner. Can you share the story of how you self-diagnosed yourself? I think it's an kind of an important, I thought it was a good message, important story. If someone hears that, maybe.
It's really important because I do my yearly mammograms every October. I am a woman, and this is very common with men as well, that I have dense breast tissue. So I was going undiagnosed. And listen, this is not a reason to not go get a mammogram. You have to get the mammograms because they do detect it even with some dense breast tissue. Mine, just the placement, the whole thing, it was undetected. I felt like throbbing one day. And when I got in the shower, I did the exam and I felt it. And my heart dropped because it wasn't small. It was quite large. And I thought, how in the holy hell did I not know that that was there? And the truth is you don't, unless you're doing your self exams and you're doing all of the things, you can miss it. I missed it for a little too long. Had I caught it sooner, this would have been a much easier journey. So I have this saying that says, I tell people to fill themselves up. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. Fill your partner up, fill yourself up. Men, women, you've got to get to know your boobies. You've got to know what they feel like. And I just didn't do that. I didn't do the self checks, and I really regret that part.
Well, it's a good message. If you can, if someone hears this or any of the times that you've said it, helps one person.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. It's always hard to pivot from that. No.
Yeah, it's like, now that we just killed the mood.
There you go. The good side is you're looking good. You're fighting the good fight, and so that's what's important. All right. So, but thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of questions. So, well, let's stick with Baywatch just so we are, and then we can go back in time and work back up. Baywatch. So you were coming off Charles in Charge. You're an icon. Everyone knows who you are. And so did Baywatch just seem like the right thing to do at the time?
No, not really. So what happened is I was doing Charles in Charge, which was also on a network that was canceled after one season and brought back in syndication. And Baywatch was following the footsteps and came to the executive producer of Charles in Charge, Al Burton, and asked him to sort of help them along. And he went on as a producer, and he wanted to do a spinoff, and it would be like a young high school show at the beach. So sort of like 90210-esque by the beach. That's how I got involved. And he said, and I want Nicole to be on it. So we moved over there thinking that there was going to be a spinoff, and the show became the huge success that it is. And they said, we don't want to mess with it. We don't want anything to change. They shot the pilots, but they just aired them as episodes, which was super weird. But anybody who is, really was into the series, they would know what I'm talking about. Elizabeth Berkley was in it. And we shot it at a high school, and it was very much about my school life. When I realized that that wasn't really happening and they just wanted me in this machine that they had going, that's when I left the show, because no, it did not seem like a good idea for me at all.
Even though it's huge, it's like billion people watching the show. It's like, was that hard? Was it hard? I mean, I know your the integrity of the job you wanted versus what it was, but like, was
And
that
you know what? I was so young and like so all about like my vision that I didn't care that it was the number one show in the world. I was like, get me out of here. And everybody, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And I said, maybe, maybe. But it just seemed to me that also everything sort of changed once that show became so popular. Different casting directors were calling. It was not the same. It just everything sort of changed. And I was like, well, wait a minute, the same jobs weren't there, the same auditions weren't there. It just we were at that time Baywatch bimbos. That's what all the headlines read, Baywatch bimbos. And it was this number one show in the world that nobody would admit they watched. And, everybody hated it, but somehow it pulled those ratings. I got scared of that part too, because I had really cared about my career and I felt like that show. And I suddenly felt myself not really caring about my performance at a certain point. And I said, this is when I definitely know I have to go. Like I need to get out. I did leave the show. No regrets.
so originally though, if they're talking about your school, then were you originally not even supposed to be a lifeguard?
Right. I was supposed to be a girl that moved to Los Angeles, had never seen the ocean, had never seen the beach, but wanted to be a lifeguard. She was on the swim team. And so it was sort of this rookie lifeguard, like a junior lifeguard. And they did carry that through the show a bit before I made it as a lifeguard. But yeah, so it would be more about us trying out to be lifeguards while juggling school and drama and all of the relationship, all of that. So yeah, it was going to be more of a combination.
Sounds like a good show.
I know. I really like the idea. I still like the idea, but that didn't happen.
So the spinoff, and then you came back for Hawaii, which was sort of like, it's interesting because the different people that are iconic at different times weren't necessarily like, there's probably before, I'm imagined before doing After Baywatch, there were people that you'd never actually worked with on Baywatch. Maybe you met them at the Hawaii, because you never worked with Gina Lee, right? And then you met her in the Hawaii episode, right?
Right. Yes. So I've met a lot of people at parties and events and things like that. So I have sort of met everybody and did sort of know everybody. It just, we hadn't worked together on the show on screen at all. No. So you're right. It's funny who they invite back and who they don't. And I was in such a different place in my life. I was a new mom. I think my daughter was 3 or 4. So I was kind of excited to go back to Baywatch. I was like in shape. I worked out. I never worked out before. I was like, look at these crazy people waking up before work and working out. I never understood that at all. So I was just at such a different place. So I thought it would be really fun to go revisit it. And it was fun. And to shoot it in Hawaii was always, whenever we were in Santa Monica and it was freezing and it was like raining and it was dirty and it was gross, I was like, why aren't we in Hawaii? Why aren't we in Hawaii? So it was really fun to just get to do it like the way I always envisioned it and how I wished it would have happened. So
Besides Jeremy, who do you is there other folks that you keep in touch with?
I do. Erica Eleniak is one of my favorite people. I talk to Alexandra Paul all the time, who's amazing. Gina. I talk to Brandy Roderick a little bit, both Brandys. Carmen, David Chokichi, I talk to quite a bit. Angelica Bridges and I sort of stay in touch, especially social media. Yeah, so sort of like, yeah, we just call,
That's
reach
cool.
out, and yeah, it's like this great big dysfunctional family.
Some of those folks, like with the Baywatch Bimbo tag that you had mentioned. So some of those folks came from Playboy. They were famous from Playboy and stuff like that. So I could see where like maybe that went together. I'm not saying they are. I'm just if perception. But you had the same, you got the same kind of tag, the same stigma. You had some, you were coming in with legit credits. I mean, you were like, who's the boss? You were like, Charles in
TJ Hooker.
Charge.
I
TJ
mean, I worked
Hooker,
with
yeah.
George Cougar. I worked with Michael Chapman. I had a great resume. I did a lot of great work before Baywatch. There was a lot of great projects I worked on. So yeah, it was a little bit hard. It was a little bit of a punch to the gut when I started reading those headlines.
All right, well, let's talk about some of those other awesome things. So you got started Miss Universe. Did you win the Miss
Yes,
Universe
I
petite?
did. I did. My mom put me in like a local Huntington Beach beauty pageant, and then you win, and like I don't know, it like goes up you and higher and higher and higher. And I hated these beauty pageant things. Hated it. I would go because all the venues had big, huge, wonderful pools. And so I'd always like, all right, if I can swim in the pool, I'll go do this beauty pageant. My mom loved it for some reason. Yeah, I ended up winning and I won Little Miss Universe and it was televised. And the host like brought me out. They like featured me on the grown-up Miss Universe. The phone just started ringing from there and I booked like Johnson's and Johnson's baby shampoo, Copper Tone, like I Mattel. I started doing Barbie commercials. Like my whole world changed and it was amazing.
And then okay, so now you're the Johnson and Johnson, so no tears. And then right, is that right?
Yeah.
And then all right, were you the Coppertone baby?
Copper Tone Kid. Yeah. I was like, they wanted to reenact. I think the original is Jodie Foster, and they wanted to reenact that their logo. Yeah, it was so fun. And I grew up a Coppertone baby. I grew up in Huntington Beach, constantly putting on Coppertone. It's still my favorite. Yeah. And then Mattel and Barbies, I was like, amazing. You get to see all the toys before they come out, and you get to like put your hands on them and play with them before they're even out on the market. So many fun things. Yeah.
I was digging into IMDb, and so when hell was in session.
Yeah.
So the only piece of trivia, I love to go into IMDb and then you get the trivia. The only trivia on when hell was in session, starring Hal Holbrook, Ronnie Cox, and many others. Nicole Eggert's debut. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's the only trivia for this 1979 TV movie, When Hell Was in Session. It's the fact that this was Nicole Eggert's debut. So that's cool. That's cool.
And that's not even true, but leave it to good old IMDb. Like they get it wrong with me every single time, but
well, there's worse things to get wrong. What would you consider? What was your literal then debut? I mean, besides commercials, I think
commercials. I think it was an ABC movie of the week. Remember those? And it was with Cheryl Ladd and Robert Urich called When She Was Bad. It was about child abuse, and that was my first like acting gig.
I did look that up, and in the description, I found it funny that they referred to Robert Urich as Robbie, and your name was Bobby, and I'm like, and like your mother daughter, and I'm like, Robbie and Bobby. I mean, isn't that even the same name?
It's weird.
It is weird.
That's really weird.
It's just like, okay, and then you've done voice work along the way, but early on, you were in the Dennis the Menace.
Yeah,
you were Margaret, and you have done a lot of cool things. And then how did you end up on Fantasy Island but not the Love Boat?
I don't know. And I ended up on Fantasy Island twice.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were like my favorite shows. I would have to say though that Fantasy Island was like right above Love Boat in my favorites. So I don't think I cared at that point. I was like, that was everything to me being on Fantasy Island. It's one of my favorite things I've done in my life, in my career, is Fantasy Island. It just, because I love everything beach and tropical, and then it was sort of magical, and so it was all these things that I just and then you get there and you see the set. I was just so excited for my whole fantasy to be unraveled, and to like see what is this really like, and those cars that they would drive with the little canopies above them, and the dirt roads were like rubber mats, and all the trees were like potted, and I was like, this is the coolest thing, like the movie magic of it. That was my moment in my life where I fell in love with that side of it, where I knew as I was watching on TV, and then to see all the behind the scenes was so fantastic, so cool.
Did you get to hear him say the plane?
Oh yeah. Hervé Villechaize was one of my favorite things about the whole deal. We were like two kids running around playing and we would like leave the set and go play around the lot. And I always remember he always had a gun. And it was for his protection, for his self-protection. And it just was just the weirdest but most fun experience ever. Like Hervé Villechaize was like my best friend for a week. It was weird and cool.
It does sound both weird and cool. Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so you mentioned TJ Hooker. You were Chrissy Hooker. You were TJ Hooker's daughter. So
yeah.
William Shatner was your TV dad.
Yeah, he was. He's great. He's really great. We ended up being recast because we got too old looking for what he wanted, in his age. Whatever happened, and we aged out of that. We aged out of that at like 10.
You're too old now. We
Yeah,
need
you're
to.
too old. Get lost. Go kick rocks, kid.
Oh, that is funny. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen William Shatner at a con or anything since?
Do you know, I really haven't, but I was on the phone or something with someone one time, or someone was with him somewhere and left me a message or something, which was very cool. And he said hi. I would love to run into him. He was like true movie star to work with in those days. He was the guy. He was a movie star,
Yeah,
even
he
though it
was
was TV, but
yeah, right. He was well, Captain Kirk, you can't. And like
ah,
he he was at our Comic-Con and we just went to see his panel.
uh-huh.
And he just sits down and he just started telling story after story after story. It was so great. So great. And then all right, let's continue through some more of your awesome stuff. There's what I call the nostalgia period where you
Okay.
appeared in I'm going to lump in a reality show because I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later, the new Leave It to Beaver, Clueless TV show, and then the real Gilligan's Island. You played
Oh yeah.
Ginger.
Oh, good Lord. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Sort of
Scary.
bring it back to life, some of the classics, and that
Yeah.
Clueless being the more modern of those classics,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The Gilligan's Island was a trip because also one of my favorite shows. Would love to be on Gilligan's Island. And so when that came about, they wouldn't really tell us much. It was in the beginning when reality was just sort of breaking out. I mean, it was like a reality competition thing that was just, they left us in the middle of like the jungle in Mexico near Cancun. And yes, the little village looked just like Gilligan's Island, which was cool during the day and scary AF at night, like so scary. I don't even know. And they left me in this like long gold ball gown. And then there was like physical things we had to do, like swimming and running and everything. So I was just sitting there like, how am I going to get rid of this dress? So I was like finding things to cut the dress to make the dress shorter so I could actually move my legs and not drown underwater. So they ended up finally giving us a bathing suit, but it was very weird and it was scary. And there are a lot of crazy critters in those jungles, both human and animal, in in those woods, in those jungles, and whatever you call that. It was scary. There's black panthers out there. There's some weird rabbit looking thing that they're like, stay clear of that. I don't even know what it was. Snakes like everywhere, just so many snakes. And then you have like drugs washing to shore. Onto the shore where all the turtles have just laid their eggs, and it's like beauty meets the real world. And then you see military guys in the early hours like walking up patrolling the beaches. It just was another so beautiful, so fun, so weird experiences. It was crazy. So I had to go back to that part of Mexico so that I could enjoy it. So I could go there and it'd be a resort from beginning to end because it really is a beautiful place. But I was so scared. It was so scary.
Oh man. So how was Barbara Eden to work with on I Dream of Jeannie?
Amazing. I didn't get to spend so much time with her. Again, a movie star. I loved I Dream of Jeannie too. I grew up on that show, one of my favorites. I love her to death. So that was a huge honor. And yes, it was years later. It's interesting when you go to these things as a kid and you're like, you don't know what to expect. You don't know who's who. You don't realize that people have aged and all of this stuff. I remember being on the Leave It to Beaver and looking at the pictures on the wall going, I don't know who's who, because they were all like grown men that were the original cast. It was just funny trying to put it all together without asking and being rude, but it's and then finally by the end of the day you have it all figured out. It's just, yeah. But Barbara Eden, amazing, just one of my faves.
I just discovered some Barbara Eden videos on YouTube where she's singing.
Oh,
I guess she was a singer, like Google Barbara Eden, son of a preacher man, when you get a chance.
Oh, I
It's
definitely will. Well, those recording contracts were going around like the sex tape contracts were going around. The 80s it was recording. I got record offers for record. I was like, yeah, you've never heard me sing. This is something terrible. This is a terrible thing that should never be recorded. And they said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everybody does it. I was like, well, it matters to me because if anybody ever asked me to sing, or that means I can never perform live, like it matters to me. So I never did it. Same with the sex tape. I never took one of those offers either, but they were throwing them around like candy, like it was nothing. So I'm not surprised she has an album.
oh, they were trying to solicit sex tapes? Like
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we get offers. This is what it's going to look like. This is how much you'll make. This is where it will go. What are we talking about here?
oh God.
Is this a real phone call? Is this really happening? Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. This is pre-Diddy.
Yeah, this is way pre-Diddy. Nobody's offering me that now. That's not happening now.
All right, so you went through all those, bring back all the old shows. That was such a great time. I loved living through that period where they brought back all the movies where they bring back all those folks. So it was fun. And then Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
Another iconic show. So few 7 episodes or so.
Yeah, I left there to go do Charles in Charge. Yeah, Alyssa Milano had moved here from New York to do the show, and they really wanted her to have, friends and like meet people. And then they thought, it all kind of went well that she, to have friends in real life and introduce that she just moved to a new neighborhood on her show. And yeah, and I was lucky enough to be cast as her friend, Marcy Ferguson. And it was my first experience really doing a lot of that 4-camera stage shooting like that, which really doesn't exist anymore. And it was just so much fun. So it was the best people to learn from. That cast is just like, I don't know if you could like you couldn't pay to have better teachers and to watch better actors do their thing and learn from. So yeah, I was very blessed to get that show.
Are you still in touch with Alyssa Milano?
Yes, I just saw her in New York. She is doing Chicago. She's playing Roxy on Chicago. So she was out there rehearsing. So I went to go see her also perform. Isaac Mizrahi does like a cabaret, and she went and sang one of the songs from Chicago. And so I went out there to go see her and support her. And I texted with her the other day, right before she started. So, and I haven't texted with her yet. She was so nervous, and I was so excited for her. And it looks like she's having the time of her life, which stage work is always so amazing. So yeah, we are good friends still.
That's awesome. Did you have any interactions with, any bonding with Tony Danza?
Yes, he was amazing to work under, and he was so kind and so funny and brought such a good energy all the time to the set. And I have not seen him in many, many years. Anytime I did run into him after, he's just always he's such a professional. He's just such a good guy. He's one of those good guys.
I met him at a Comic-Con. He was so nice. He was
so nice, right?
So nice. I was like, oh yeah, man, this is a nice guy. Okay, so all right, so you leave there. Charles in Charge, you mentioned it for a second, but like the first season, it just like Baywatch, where the season existed, and then they pretty much revamped the entire show. And then in the revamp, I guess you mentioned it went into syndication. That's when you came in. Had you even been aware of it prior, or once they revamped it, somehow it got on your radar?
I mean, I kind of didn't. I'm not sure I was aware of the show or not, but Al Burton was somebody I auditioned for all the time. And he had always said to me, I'm going to put you in a show. We have to find the right one. We have to find the right one. So I would audition for him all the time. So I was very familiar with him and his office. And then Charles in Charge came up and he said, I think I found the show. I think we have the show. So I lucked out there too.
Charles, would you say Charles in Charge is where you rose to iconic status? Is that fair?
I would imagine. I think that's when people started, I was finally like a regular on a show in people's living rooms. So I guess so.
How do you like talking about it? Do you want, what I mean? Like, cause I know there was the whole, sexual abuse that happened
There's that
during this time part. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to say like, hey, did you always watch it? Did you enjoy being on the show, knowing that? So, but is there like a piece of it that you can look back
Yes.
on?
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because, yes, there was a very dark situation happening and it was a very horrible time, but also it was a really great time and a really fun time when you're actually like working and on set doing what you're there supposed to be doing. Such a fun experience to be a regular on a show like that and to be part of something like that. Outside of the darkness that was on that set, everything else was great. Life was really good. I had a great home life. I had a great social life with other kids that were in the industry. And it was a really fun time, I think, in the world in the 80s. I just think what a fun time it was. Music was so fun and so many fun shows. And so there were a lot of great things too. It was part of like, it was hard for me to talk about that. I, for so long, never really wanted to do it because I didn't want to taint the show. I didn't want to taint people's like exactly what just happened. I don't want that to be because there was a really great aspect to it. So
But I feel like part of your message now, and it's in the After Baywatch documentary too, you touch on this as well. You discuss your time there. I mean, it's an inspiration in terms of speaking your truth, being open about these things, and I mean, between that and your health battles and being open about it and giving people like a path to like follow if any of this is happening to them, I think
yeah.
is highly commendable.
Thank you. Yeah. Secrets are bad. Secrets, especially trauma secrets, they will make you sick. And I think that I think we're finally in an era and a time where people will listen and there's so much help out there no matter what you're going through. It's the best of times to be able to reach out and get help for anything you're struggling with, quite honestly.
All right. So, Charles in charge. We go into Baywatch. So we come full circle. Look at
We're
that.
back to the beach.
I did have one question for you. With Baywatch, you talked about a spinoff, potential spinoff when they were bringing you on. Married with Children, similar
Yeah.
situation there. They brought you back to the
Similar
pilot.
situation. Yeah, they were doing a pilot for a spinoff. I auditioned for that. And man, that was a lot of pressure. That was like I went in, I was like rushed. It was like this last minute, or they were casting fast. I remember that. And I was somewhere else doing something and this audition came through and I rushed over there and I had happened to have on like a leopard bra. So I like opened up my shirt, I was like trying to make myself like this character. And I just like went in there and just went for it. And they hired me that evening. I remember them going, she's got it. She nailed it, and then after that time after like when I booked the job to when we started shooting, it was like, oh my God, what did I even do in that audition? What was it? So it was just it was a lot of pressure. The show didn't go anywhere, but another great set to be on. Alan Thicke I had known for years too, who was always fun to be around, and Christina Applegate, David Faustino, all these people like that I knew and had grown up with. So it was a pretty comfortable set to be on. And they're just so encouraging. All those people are just like good, solid people. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, I just interviewed someone who was with the show for most of its run.
I listened to that episode. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll listen to your podcast too. We'll talk about it in a second. Look at this. Did we just become best friends? But it was just interesting, like to have met those people. I don't know exactly when, but like how famous they became later. You know what I mean? It's just like incredible, like how all of them just became.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huge
Like,
stars.
yeah. Hang on, I'm still got the goosebumps. So you listen to my podcast. Okay, so this one I thought was I found, I found this on your IMDb, which I thought was this should be higher up on the IMDb. Gary Busey's daughter in an
Oh,
Outer Limits episode.
whoa. All I can say is whoa. Weirdest thing. Outer Limits already, you're going into a weird, a weird energy. And then we were playing like Christian Baptist, like healers, scam artists. It's a weird topic. And then he's a lot. He's a lot. He's a character. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It was I got along well with him, luckily, thank God.
He's a
It was
character. He's just
it's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to work with. Mhm.
It's a, I just thought I was like, oh, that's.
Yeah.
And then how was it doing, or being a part of, or being at the Comedy Central roast of David Hasselhoff?
Good times. Really good times. You know, David is a good he took it really well. He was having a fun time. Pam, they roasted on Pam. She was not taking it so well. And then I remember Seth MacFarlane turns to me in the audience and says my name and starts talking. And I just was like, I'm going to like wet myself here. Like, I was not prepared. But he ended up saying something complimentary, which I'm pretty sure there's only 1% of people have something said complimentary about them at one of these roasts, and he went and he moved on, and I was like, oh my god, what just happened? Like I was holding my breath. He scared the shit out of me. he ended up saying something complimentary, and I just I was able to breathe again. And roasts are really funny. I mean, but to have it done on you have to really be prepared. I think you have to be in the right mindset, and you have to be prepared.
Yeah, they're brutal on those shows.
Oh,
Yeah, they and sometimes not more brutal to the people, I think, than the Rob Lowe one. I mean, they destroyed Ann Coulter. I mean, it's just like
That's the people around. They get it
Yeah.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they get it.
Oh, you know what? The other thing from the After Baywatch, Scott Grimes and Debbie Gibson singing the theme song.
Theme song. Yeah.
It's funny because like Scott Grimes, who's hilarious. Like I love Speaking of Seth MacFarlane, the Orville loved that show. You should talk to Scott. They finally bring back the thing. You should get on that show. That's one of the best shows. And Seth MacFarlane's a genius. Anyway, okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
but they let Scott sing on that show a lot. And then or at least a bunch of times, and then if you Google it, you can find other things. That guy's he has a really good voice. So I was like, I was excited when I saw that part of the documentary, and he's like, I'm like, that was him. I didn't even know that was him and Debbie Gibson. And I was like, I thought that was really cool.
You like what I did there? Yes. It's funny because the theme song, I've known Scott since we were really little. So I've always heard him sing, and he's just got one of those voices. The theme song was so important, and we were going to offer it to David Hasselhoff. And, everything's a blessing. I swear to God, every time you hit a wall, things are blessings. And so I thought, who could sing that song? Like who could carry that note? And Scott just popped into my head, and I was like, Scott, he could sing that song. It's not an easy song to sing at all. So I called him and I said, would you ever? And he's like, I absolutely would. And then he said, why don't we have Debbie on? And I thought, even more genius, like, let's go. And it was everything I wanted it to be. I get chills every time I listen to it. I love it so. It's probably one of my most proudest things I am the documentary is putting that together, because not everybody knows, right? So only if you know his work and you know who he is, you get that little Easter egg of like what just happened there. Yeah.
It's a great theme song. I mean,
Yeah.
they really. Yeah. I think they're coming out with like a serious kind of version of Baywatch. I feel like right after your documentary ran, I started seeing these ads for like this,
like High Tide Rescue or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could see it when they were talking. That was an interesting part of the documentary also, when they were talking about the pitch. It was like, oh yeah, this could have been like a Chicago fire, like a real serious, very specific thing, but which I
was
guess
supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be. That's what I thought it was.
And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that's where when I went into it, that's what I thought it was. So, imagine my shock when Pamela Anderson, who I already knew as well, steps out in like full glam. And I was like, does she know she's going in the water? They're like trying to put mascara on me. I was like, guys, I'm jumping in the water in a few minutes. Like I'm gonna look crazy, no makeup. I was totally on the wrong page. So I agree. What a fun concept.
So fun. Talk to me about Perfectly Twisted with Nicole Eggert, your podcast. I saw there was a few folks, Mark Price, Anson Williams, William Hung, that we both have talked to. Those are fun folks to talk to. How did you get into the podcast world?
People have been saying to me, oh, I always get like, I would always get, have you written a book? do you have a podcast? Have you written a book? Do you have a podcast? I was like, no, I haven't written a book. No, I don't have a podcast. I was talking to my friend who's my co-host, Dave Palais. I did his, and he said to me, if you're ever really truly interested in doing one, like I can help you out and show you like how to get it started and all of that. And I was like, well, do you want to do it with me? Because that could be fun. I started it and I thought, well, let's just see how it goes. And I actually really enjoy it. I actually really have a good time. It's really opened me up and made me much more comfortable talking for a certain amount of time. I used to be very like, I don't know, and then like exhausted by the end of an interview, like so ridiculous. So it's really taken like a lot of that pressure off and made me be able to just be more comfortable in this sort of setting. Just the things like that we talk about and that we learn and the people I meet. It's really kind of fantastic.
It's a fun way to be able to reconnect with people. Like, imagine if I just reached out and said, "You got, hey, Jeff Dwoskin just wants to talk to you, Nicole."
Right.
That doesn't work. That doesn't. Hey, Jeff, this guy's got a podcast. He'd like to have you on it. Like, oh yeah, okay,
yeah, let's do it.
that seems normal. Okay.
Let's do that. Right. But I think podcast is very much, the future. And I think it's very much fun for people to be able to have their own platforms and take it where they want to take it and not having anybody telling them what to do and how to do it. I think it's just such a great concept.
Yeah, I love it. It's so fun. All right. So besides, is there anything else that you have done that you just, besides maybe being on Sugar Ray's debut album, like that you're like, okay, this is the thing I do that no one talks about? And is it the dog who saved Easter?
You know it. I mean, come on. Again, voice work, back to voice work.
A lot of voice work. You are in Duckman. Like that was yeah.
Yeah. I love being in the studio. I am quite good at when it comes to like ADR work, when you have to, for anybody who doesn't know, when you're shooting a show, especially a show like Baywatch, a lot of times the sound is muffled or not good or really low quality. So we go back in and you have to match your words to your mouth. And I'm really good at it. So they always like me and I'm always out of there really fast. But I love being in the studio. It's so fun. It's such a fun place to be. And I can't sing, so there's nothing else that gets me in there except voiceover work.
Can't sing, but they still gave you a contract or wanted.
Yeah, they offered me one. They sure did. Fools.
They can make anyone sound good, like with the tuning and stuff like.
Yeah, they would have
like,
tuned the heck out of it, like Milli Vanilli. But it's like, what? But for what? I don't know. No.
Oh man! All right, and then the final thing, your Corey Haim era, I suppose. You did 3 movies with Corey Haim, engaged for a short period of time, just working with the Coreys. I mean, that's like I feel like that's pure 90s.
Pure 90s.
Yeah.
So 90s. Yes. It was funny because he got offered the show Double O Kid, the movie Double O Kid, which is one we did together, and he asked for me to be cast alongside of him. And what a weird script, what a weird show, what a weird movie, but fun. A lot of these sometimes the weirder they are, the more fun it is, because you're like, what am I doing here? What's going on? I think I was on roller skates for most of the movie. But anyway, so we were shooting that together, and then Blown Away came up. I think it was, Blown Away came up. They knew we were working together, and they offered it to both of us. So we went out to Canada. We were shooting Blown Away, and then Just One of the Girls, which we did, knew that we were both out there working together and offered us both the project. And so we stayed in Canada and went over and did Just One of the Girls.
Also called Anything for Love.
Oh, it is? Oh, I didn't know. I was unaware.
Yeah, I just I didn't either. I was like, wait, I thought there was only 3 movies, and there was 4, and I read, the one
they renamed it.
It was both names. So, did you guys? I mean, you're pretty intimate, at least in Blown Away. I mean, is it easy to fall in love with people that you're working with, like in that sense when you're?
Well, listen, I knew
awkward
Corey
when you're doing film.
It's a bit of both, to be honest. And I knew Corey from when he first moved to Los Angeles, when he did Lucas. I met Corey right away, and we were all friends. Scott, Corey, Alyssa, Christina, Applegate, all of us, we were all in the same crew. We all hung out together. We all became fast friends. So I'd known him for a long time. We had sort of dated as 13, 14-year-olds. And so, this was us later in life, And yeah, we started messing around, being together again on set. It happens on sets. It really does. It's like, it's not a habit. I don't like to make it a habit. I haven't had many set romances. Let's put it that way. But he and I, yes, we did start getting involved, and he proposed, and then we got back to LA, and, reality sets in, and like, wait a minute, wait a dang minute here. We got to figure this out. So, yeah, but I mean, I loved him dearly.
Yes, quite a loss. I mean, but if you were going to pick a Corey, that's the one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh, Nicole, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was so much fun to hang out with you and hear all your stories and all that. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it myself.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Go listen to all my podcasts.
Okay, I will. I'll go put it on. I will.
No, you're awesome.